ever waited tables, you probably have a soft spot in your heart for servers. You know the thrill of discovering a big tip and the frustration of getting stiffed. Here in Massachusetts, tipping is essentially important because the minimum wage for tipped employees is just $2.63 an hour. That's $5.37 less than the state minimum wage. Massachusetts doesn't have the lowest tip wage nationally. 16 states require restaurants to pay their workers just $2.13. But we do have the lowest tip to wage in New England. Now, as the state legislature debates a minimum wage hike for other workers, there's talk of increasing the minimum pay for tipped workers, too. The Senate passed a measure in November that would peg the tipped minimum wage at half the state minimum wage. My next guest took that a step further in her own restaurant. Rose Saya is the owner of The Local Table, a bistro in Acton. Welcome to Greater Boston, Rose.
Thank you for having me.
I can see you've got a big personality. I've been sitting here talking to you. So you pay your employees more than the required tipped minimum wage. What do you pay them? How do you have it? What do you pay them?
I pay them $8 an hour, which is Massachusetts minimum wage. I probably have about 7 or 8 servers at any given time because we have 3 services at the restaurant: lunch, brunch, and dinner. Yeah.
And why do you do that? It costs you more.
The fundamental reason I do it is it's good for business. The first year that I owned the restaurant, I paid $5 an hour, which was more than minimum because I just ethically felt that that was the right thing to do. The reason, the basis for that is that servers are doing work before and after their shift. For me, they're cleaning, they're setting up, they're doing all kinds of work that has nothing to do with getting tips. What I saw in that first year is that there was a tremendous problem with turnover. And I also saw that I would hire servers, and because they were so financially squeezed, they couldn't get to work consistently. They didn't have cars that worked consistently. They couldn't get child care. They had health issues. And I thought, you know, this is just ridiculous. What's the difference? What's $3 more an hour? And so I thought, you know, this is just the right thing to do. My experience in other industries, because I have experience outside of the restaurant industry, is that when you pay people well, you get a higher level of performance. And in particular, I thought I would begin to alleviate some of the economic issues that were impeding their ability to get to work. And so my turnover went from, you know, a lot, you know, maybe 10, 15 people a year, to zero.
That's amazing. So
to
it's
zero.
paid off for you. All right.
It's paid off.
I want to bring Bob Lewis into the conversation. He's the president and CEO of the Massachusetts Restaurant Association, who has managed several restaurants. Welcome to Greater Boston, Bob. Now, you're here because you do not support this, a raise in the, you know, tipped minimum wage.
Well, you know, I don't. You know, and for our industry, it's a difficult thing to look at, basically because you know, since 1999, when the legislature, in my estimation, had the great foresight to freeze the wage, we've just seen a program that's worked for the employee, the employer, and the Commonwealth. And if you think about it, that's the ideal scenario when you have a 3-point stance like that, when it works for all 3. In terms of employees, it's worked for them since 1999, because in 1999, the average employee earned $7.13 an hour. That was their tip wage plus what they declared in tips. Today, 14 years later, they earn $13.13 an hour on average, which ranks us the highest out of 50 states in the country. It's allowed the employers who have built a business plan around the model where 2/3 of their employees receive this tip wage. It's allowed them to build a business plan that allows them to keep prices down, keep guests coming in, stimulating sales, stimulating the economy so that these servers can earn money. And they've expanded the number of establishments from 13,000 to well over 15,000, from 240,000 jobs to well over 300,000, 10% of the whole
but it's
workforce.
Still very low compared to other states around New England, as we saw. I mean, Connecticut is twice as much as ours. There's got to be a reason why that works for them too.
Yeah, and the answer is it doesn't work as well. And let me give you an example. I'll make it even better. I'll go to a state that actually pays the same that Rose does in her restaurant. California pays $8 an hour. California, if you look at their economy and the whole business model, not a great state to be in today. But more importantly, their average server, between tip wage, $8 an hour, and what they declare in tips, $10.29 an hour, $3 less than our servers are making here in Massachusetts. So, you know, whether that's because
cheap tippers.
It very well could be. It could be that the public out there knows that they're making a lot more per hour and they give them less tips. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you can't. Those are not our statistics. That's Bureau of Labor statistics.
You brought up California. There are 6 or 7 other states, they're all out west, who all pay the minimum wage. You said $8 an hour, federal minimum wage. All of these states do the same thing. Are you saying that they're all in the same boat as California?
Well, they're all less than Massachusetts. Yeah, that's for sure.
When you combine
the 2 wages, that's correct. And the thing to remember is every year when food prices go up, which unfortunately we know they do, those prices flow down to the tipped employees. So, if food prices go up 2 or 3% and menu prices go up 2 or 3% a year, that flows directly to the employees. So the tipped employees actually get raises every year as menu inflation naturally occurs.
Okay. Do your tipped employees say anything that people know that they get? That you pay them as the employer, you pay them more. Do they somehow, in the mind of the customer, do they tip them less?
I haven't seen that at all, and in fact, I've had people congratulate me that the people who are working in my establishment are earning a decent wage. I think they recognize how difficult it is to live in the state of Massachusetts, which has some of the highest housing costs in the country, high fuel costs. There has not been any reduction in tipping in my establishment, and I think it's actually created a better rapport and a better level of service between the diner and the server. So I just can't, I don't see that at all. And of course, people in my community know I've written on the topic, and it's certainly been on my Facebook page. It's publicized. And I think, while you raise some points around the financials, I don't think they completely hold water. I think if you look at what an average server takes home, it's not always $13 an hour. I think you have to look at the fact that there's a number of fine dining establishments that skew that rate much higher. There's a large percentage of servers who are earning less than that. They're working in establishments that don't have fine dining prices. And I think the other thing to look at very carefully is that a lot of the people who are servers in this state are women. Most of them are women 30 years old on average. They're raising families. They're working 2 jobs. They can't get by.
Bob Lutz and Rose Zaya, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming.